From High Definition News, I'm Jeff Kaufman with some catch-up for your Wednesday snack. This is some of what's been breaking just in the past couple of hours.
Caution, you are about to enter the no spin zone. The factor begins right now.
For more than 20 years, Bill O'Reilly was the undisputed king of cable news. But today, he is out.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight.
And a lot of people were still watching Bill O'Reilly every weeknight on Fox News Channel. But today, Bill O'Reilly's reign as cable news champion ended with a one-sentence written statement from Fox News Channel's parent company, 21st Century Fox. After a thorough and careful review of the allegations, the company and Bill O'Reilly have agreed that Bill O'Reilly will not be returning to the Fox News Channel. Separately, Fox said that Tucker Carlson will succeed O'Reilly in the 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time slot beginning Monday. Because of O'Reilly's influence and, of course, the salacious nature of the allegations, this is the top story at Fox News competitors CNN and MSNBC. Twitter is on fire. On the Fox News Channel itself, at the top of the hour,
breaking news. Shepard Smith reporting live from the Fox News deck.
But we begin with breaking news and word that Russia has just made a big move to help the Syrian regime.
All right, he'll probably get to it before long. Biggest story in the media universe right now, and it's about his channel. O'Reilly issued a written statement this afternoon saying, his words now, "It is tremendously disheartening that we part ways due to completely unfounded claims, but that is the unfortunate reality many of us in the public eye must live with today. I will always look back at my time with Fox with great pride in the unprecedented success we achieved, and with my deepest gratitude to all my dedicated viewers. I wish only the best for Fox News Channel." Despite all those viewers, and they were dedicated, he held a commanding lead in the ratings for more than 20 years. Despite their numbers, most of his viewers were older than the ones advertisers pay to reach, and dozens of advertisers have been pulling their spots off the O'Reilly factor in recent weeks because for them, O'Reilly's no-spin zone had spun out of control. It was not Fox and O'Reilly's conservative viewpoint that spooked the ad buyers. It was revelations that over the past 2 decades, Fox and O'Reilly himself have paid more than $13 million to settle lawsuits claiming that O'Reilly had subjected female subordinates and even guests on his show to various types of sexual harassment. And the charges against O'Reilly kept coming. Psychologist and former Fox commentator Wendy Walsh filed a lawsuit this month claiming her career at the channel ended after she refused O'Reilly's advances. She reacted this afternoon on CNN.
As a woman and as a mother of daughters entering the workplace, I am thrilled that a corporation has made this seismic shift to put women's rights ahead of their bottom line.
Walsh's attorney said a couple of days ago that a second, so far unidentified woman has come forward with similar claims involving O'Reilly. When the news channel's parent company, 21st Century Fox, launched an internal investigation of the corporate culture at New York headquarters, it reportedly found that some of those O'Reilly settlement payments were off the books, hidden from accountants at 21st Century Fox by the Fox News Channel's former all-powerful chairman, Roger Ailes. The men who control Fox, Rupert Murdoch and his sons Lachlan and James, forced Ailes out last July over similar allegations of sexual misconduct. They made the decision today that Bill O'Reilly had to go. Oh, let's check in with Shepard Smith on Fox News Channel. You know, he's often cited as an honest broker, his reporting fair on a channel that leans regularly and brazenly to the right, not just in its commentary, but in its news reporting too.
This is Fox News Channel, America's choice for news and information on cable, and we are just getting started.
It's been a tough year for Fox News Channel and the Murdochs. First, the Roger Ailes mess, which began when former anchor Gretchen Carlson sued Ailes and Fox over sexual misconduct against her by Ailes. That suit was settled for $20 million, but she was not the last female employee or former employee who accused Ailes of acting inappropriately. And when Fox's biggest female star, anchor Megyn Kelly, said she too had been a victim of Ailes, the man called the most powerful figure in cable news was a goner, though he left with a reported $40 million severance check. The Murdochs promised they had a no-tolerance policy toward the kind of behavior Ailes and O'Reilly's accusers said was commonplace at Fox News. Then Megyn Kelly's contract ended, and she bolted for NBC News. She's gearing up to host the 3rd hour of the Today Show. And now O'Reilly and the advertiser boycott, and also in the mix, the slow-motion transition at 21st Century Fox as Rupert Murdoch hands more and more control to his sons, who are not as old, not as conservative, and not as thrilled with the politics of Fox News Channel as their dad. They do like the hundreds of millions of dollars in profits the channel makes every year. All right, it's a big news day. O'Reilly, the standoff with North Korea, the aftermath of the Fresno shootings, and the Facebook murder. Shepard Smith has a lot on his plate, but I'm sure he's about to... let me just turn this up.
On this day in 1775, America's fight for independence began in earnest.
Just one last thing on Bill O'Reilly. He's been on what the channel calls a long-scheduled vacation this week. Today, O'Reilly turned up at the Vatican at St. Peter's Square, where Pope Francis was greeting the crowd from the Pope-mobile. O'Reilly got a handshake from the Pope, but no private audience. Here's a quick look at what else is happening. For the second day in a row, Russian bombers have appeared off the coast of Alaska. 2 long-range nuclear-capable bombers flew within 36 miles of Kodiak Island today. American territorial waters extend 12 miles out to sea. The Pentagon sent a radar aircraft up to take a look, and the Russian jets flipped a U-turn and made for home after a few minutes. Yesterday, the U.S. scrambled some Air Force fighter jets when a couple of Russian bombers flew about 100 miles off the coast of Kodiak Island. The Russians and Americans flew in parallel for a few minutes, then the Russians turned for home. Hawthorne Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu told CNN today the Russians have done this before in 2015.
This highlights that whatever the president may think, Russia is not an ally of the United States. They are opposing us in Syria. They are trying to destabilize democracies, and they're testing U.S. resolve by sending their bombers towards the United States. And it's good that our aircraft intercepted them, but we need to make sure that our White House has a strategy when dealing with Russia.
Congressman Lieu, who serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, has the same criticism of the Trump administration's approach to North Korea. He says there's no real strategy. He accuses the administration of abandoning a diplomatic approach to North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un and thinking only about a military response.
And it's also important that we don't lie to the American people or to the world. Last week, the White House said they're sending this aircraft carrier to North Korea. It turned out our aircraft task force was actually going to Australia at the time. The military knows full well where the aircraft carrier task force is going every single minute of the day. There's no way that they would have miscommunicated that.
It is true that last week, after that failed North Korean missile test, President Trump made a point of announcing that the aircraft carrier Carl Vinson and its squadron of ships were steaming toward the Korean peninsula.
We are sending an armada, very powerful. We have submarines, very powerful, far more powerful than the aircraft carrier, that I can tell you.
That same day, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer.
I think when you see a carrier group steaming into an area like that, the forward presence of that is clearly, through almost every instance, a huge deterrence.
And for good measure, Defense Secretary James Mattis.
She's just on her way up there because that's where we thought it was most prudent to have her at this time. She was originally headed in one direction for an exercise, and we canceled our role in that exercise, and that's what became public. So we had to explain why she wasn't in that exercise.
Except she, that is, the Vinson and the other Navy ships, were not headed toward the Korean peninsula at the time the President, Spicer, and Mattis said they were. They were still steaming toward that military exercise in the Indian Ocean. Reporters at today's White House press briefing were all over Press Secretary Sean Spicer.
On the USS Carl Vinson, what happened? Can you take us through the events from the perspective of the White House that led to the miscommunication?
Well, I mean, PACOM put out a release talking about the group ultimately ending up in the Korean Peninsula. That's what it will do.
PACOM is the United States Navy's Pacific Command. Back to Sean Spicer.
I think we were asked very clearly about the use of a carrier group in terms of deterrence and foreign presence and what that meant. I think that's what we discussed.
The President believed that he might have spoken too quickly on this location of the vessel before it was actually arriving.
The President said that we have an armada going towards the peninsula. That's a fact. It happened. It is happening.
But if the press secretary thought that settled that, no.
I just want to follow up on that. Obviously, when the President of the United States says there's military hardware going to a region in the middle of a crisis on the Korean Peninsula, the allies of the United States are encouraged. So how is this White House explaining to South Korea and Japan that, in fact, during the buildup and the actual DPRK missile launch, there was no USS Carl Vinson?
The statement that was put out was that the Carl Vinson group was headed to the Korean Peninsula. It is headed to the Korean Peninsula. It'll arrive there.
It's headed there now. It wasn't headed there
Sure,
last
no,
week.
but that's not what we ever said. We said that it was heading there, and it was heading there. It is heading there.
Well, what's misleading is that people thought it was headed there now, and now it's going to be there weeks later. They thought it was already headed there.
But again,
that's an exercise.
I understand the question, right? But what I'm getting at is, It was announced that it was going. It will be there. We were asked simply a question on that. I think all other questions should be asked of the Department of Defense. John.
For the record, the Vinson and its carrier group are now making for the Korean Peninsula. They are traveling at aircraft carrier speed, which will put them in Korean waters at the end of this month. Back home in Southern California, they have sounded the all clear in the North Long Beach neighborhood where the bomb squad had been called in after somebody spotted a suspicious package. It was found around 7 this morning near the corner of 67th and Falcon Avenue, south of the 91 freeway. Police asked people in about 20 homes to get out, although the evacuation was voluntary. The bomb squad disposed of whatever that package was. Cannot tell you because police are not telling us. There's been kind of a mini wave of these scares over the past 24 hours. Torrance Elementary School was on lockdown for a short time yesterday because of a bomb threat. There was no bomb. And also yesterday, somebody phoned a bomb threat into the Getty Center in the hills above West LA. On the advice of the LAPD, the Getty closed early and sent everybody home while officers searched for anything suspicious. Again, no bomb found. The Getty is open for business as usual today. Hey, before we go, one last check on Shepard Smith. His hour on Fox News Channel is ending. Sometimes, news organizations save stories about themselves for the end of the broadcast. Let's just listen to see if he says anything about Bill O'Reilly.
Should news break out, we'll break in because breaking news changes everything on FNC. Have a great afternoon. I'll see you later.
Well, maybe the folks on the 100th floor of Fox headquarters just forgot to call the newsroom and let them know. Now you know what we know. I'm Jeff Kaufman, High Definition News.